In this video, I want to talk about color and how AI is actually helping to distort your brain. So I've been wanting to go into color for a while and noticing how neon colors and all these glowing colors seem to be increasing, like on people's websites and on platforms. I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into this because I wasn't feeling good about it when I was looking at all these colors, and noticing also that in recent years with a lot of AI, festivals, for example, things like Vivid here in Sydney and lots of other places around the world as well, everything's very stroby. Everything's like flashing bright lights and just shocking people's nervous system. And it's no wonder we're all defragged with our nervous system. So I wanted to go and investigate why that might be, not just from the LED perspective, but also by color, because a lot of these colors, as you will know, they're really surreal. They're too much. They're over the top. They're very synthetic. So first of all, strobing and flickering lights. Pretty much anybody who's on the spectrum, or anybody who's got any sort of neuroplasticity imbalances going on, is like a major red flag for them. They just cannot cope. It sends them into psychosis to the extreme, and also gives them headaches and makes them feel just sick and nauseous. So that's very fragmenting, not just for the physical human, but also for their energetic field. In other words, anybody with PTSD, which pretty much everybody on the planet has to some degree since 2020, but of course people with more extended experiences of that and presentations of PTSD from war, etc., and abuse, can you only imagine what that would do to their system? So what neon lights do, they stop melatonin production. They create insomnia, moodiness, and brain fog. They can trigger migraines, especially the flashing of those lights. They can trigger epilepsy. And they are essentially exhausting. And if you've worked in an office, which many of us have in the past, where all there was fluorescent lighting, you'll know how toxic that feels in your body. It can also create retina damage, especially in children. And as I said before, PTSD triggers and also ADHD triggers. So neon lights and fluorescent lights essentially are hurting humans. I don't know about you, but when I look out, as I am now, outside, all the beautiful hues and colours and variations of Mother Nature, especially when all the flowers are in bloom. They're not here now in winter because it's, everything's sort of in hibernation, but certainly in spring. I mean, there's a couple of roses on the tree over there, but they're all sort of, they're about to all fall off. There's a big difference between this neon overstimulated colouring that we're being sold and the calming, sedating, relaxing frequency or energy you get when you're in nature, when you're immersed in bush or in the ocean. So that connection between neon colours and AI is very sci-fi. We've seen this programming in movies for a long time. It's artificial, obviously. It's glowing, pulsing, vibrating, often with an energetic or an intention all of its own. And I would argue also, because of the things that are attached to these, the entity vibrations, that there is possibly something going on that level. And they also trigger neurological and physiological imbalances. So not a good thing overall. Neon colors also stimulate the limbic system. So that's the part that regulates emotion and spikes in dopamine, which is all about excitement and alertness and being switched on. So your kidneys aren't going to enjoy that energy either, because that will keep them in a state of constant arousal and hyperactivity, which is very depleting, especially for women in perimenopause, and women in general, also men, but definitely in perimenopause, where your hormones are shifting and changing and your kidneys are going through a major transformation. And the most important thing to know here is that when your nervous system is fragmented, then that's guaranteed that your energetic field is also fragmented. And when that happens, you are vulnerable to psychic attack. You are vulnerable to illness, to weakness in your immune system, which is actually your energetic field, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually in different ways for each person. Now, I found this out, which I felt to share because it's quite interesting, that we have 3 types of cone cells in our eyes: red, green, and blue. So the average human perceives about 1 million colours, but there are people that are called tetrachromats who have a 4th cone cell in their eyes, and that's an orange-yellow sensitivity, and they can see up to 100 million colours. Can you imagine how amazing, but also how overwhelming that might be? So these people can distinguish between color spectrums. So they're very vulnerable to sensory overload. And I don't know, but I would imagine that a lot of those people would probably be on the spectrum as well because of that hypersensitivity. That's something you may like to research and get back to me with as well. So we're all using AI to some degree, but we're using phones, we're using computers, we're all being ushered towards a digital reality. So we're all engaging with artificial intelligence or alien intelligence, which is what it really is, in some way. It's kind of unavoidable nowadays, unless we all go and decide to sit in a yurt out in the country, which for me sounds fantastic, but is not quite practical at the moment and may not be for you either or yet. I've also noticed that there's a very subtle trend within the sovereign and also /truther freedom movement that more people are using AI for AI avatars and for their advertising. And when we engage with AI to that degree, there's always the risk of being hijacked or energetically siphoned. So we may be at a point in history where it's inevitable that AI is going to take over the world perhaps, or become more prevalent in our day-to-day existence. But we still each have the ability to discern if we're going to use it, how we use it, and what are our general rule of thumbs, or what is our line in the sand where we won't use it as well. So I guess my main intention or invitation for you today with this video is to remind you that colour obviously affects you consciously, but also unconsciously. So to make your own decisions around that, of course, but to know that Mother Nature always has a remedy, and she is always the best defragger for our nervous systems, because she still has spectacular colours, but we don't need to be living in an avatar type of world and construct. You may have chosen that on a soul level to get sucked into that whole AI synthetic imprint and be, allow yourself to be cloned, which is what's happening essentially through these devices, and you're creating a digital twin. And to a degree, most of us are participating in that, and that's happening with or without our permission, because we are just living in this realm and this is what is happening now. But you can always discern whether that's happening or to what degree that's happening for you, and also to revoke those contracts and to renounce anything that you might have done in the past, any decisions you might have made consciously or unconsciously, and discerning, okay, well, this is a line in the sand for me, and now I'm going to come back to nature, my inner nature, and activate that and listen to that. Especially if you've been feeling off in some way. They're not ascension symptoms, by the way. You're probably just being microwaved to the eyeballs, as we all are. And I mentioned before, there's things in the sky, we're all breathing in pollutants, and that is affecting our neuroplasticity and the way we think and feel and perceive and receive information. So the big one around what we're able to receive is it's affecting our stomach channel predominantly. It's our eyes, the front of the body, what we're seeing right now, what's right in front of us. And your level of awareness will relate to the integrity of your stomach channel, meaning what you're feeding yourself with, not just foods, but experiences and relationships and ideas and information, what you allow in to process. And if you aren't able to process that cleanly and clearly, and then let go of the stuff that no longer serves you, then you're going to have a backlog of a lot of toxicity on different levels that is going to make you feel very heavy, very dense, more disconnected from your intuition, from that lightness, that inner knowing, that intuitive self of you, which is spaciousness and expansion and elevation. So the invitation today with colour is to be more aware of how that affects you consciously and of course unconsciously, and to remind yourself that the best colours are always found in nature.